it's easier to stay with what's familiar. It's easy to stay right dead in the center, maybe occasionally push yourself to that other edge. But oh my gosh, when you're in that out of edge, it can be intense. It can be intense because you're going into the unknown. So you have to be willing to make the unknown known. I think that's one of the missions as a soul on this planet. We have to be willing to make known the unknown. And what happens when we do that, we push through those edges, and then all of a sudden that becomes familiar to us. And we've made the unfamiliar familiar. And now all of a sudden our comfort zone's expanded. And so each step that you take to push through an emotional trigger, through another way of self-sabotaging yourself, and each time you do the work and think, oh, okay, I'm aware of what I'm doing, I'm going to make a new decision. Oh, wow, I really need to break through this area of my life in order to get what I want. Every time you do that, you are growing and expanding your capabilities, your consciousness, you're evolving yourself on a soul level, you're moving through. And that's, it may sound really weird. Why is this weight loss coach talking like this? I'm telling you now, if you really want authentic change and transformation, you've got to do the internal work. There is nothing more important than that, because you are on the outside an inner expression of everything you're thinking and feeling and what you believe on the inside. So I'm going to go through and give you a list, right? I'm going to give you a list here of really what I believe are the main reasons we sabotage. I'm going to go all over the place here, girls. You're just going to have to bear with me. Here we go. Okay. First of all, sabotage starts in our mind. So the question is, are we willing to change our mind about things? You know, or is holding on to these old belief systems, as I said, and into the comfort zone really what we're wanting to do? So are we willing to change our mind? That's the first question. So the first thing you need to do is start to reframe your language. As I said at the beginning of this, you know, your language begins to collaborate with your mind. So what you tell yourself, your mind follows, and then the body follows that direction. So if you identify, say, oh, you know, I'm a self-sabotager, you're literally commanding the brain to sabotage. So the first thing I want you to do is bring into your conscious awareness, are you using that language? So if you are, stop it now. Now that I've shed the light onto that part of your consciousness, stop that now. Stop identifying with being a self-sabotage. You have to be willing to reframe that story and reframe that language. So you have to immediately kind of change that. And the way that you do that is to start talking in the third person, which separates the neural pathways that are firing these belief systems together. So you need to understand that your brain is a web of beliefs that is hardwired in this matrix of the brain through the synapses, which repeated patterns over time form hardwired connections in the brain that create habits that become your default behaviors. So if we want to change something, we have to interrupt the belief systems as they're literally firing on a visceral level within our brain. As our brain lights up, we have to be willing to go, oh, hang on, no, I'm going to cut that cord and interrupt that belief system and that thought so that I can make a new decision and therefore create new habits and new patterns of behaviors. So the first thing you can do to do that is to disconnect yourself and move to like a third person language. So this is where I would say to you, instead of saying, oh, I'm just sabotaging myself again, or this could be that you fall off the wagon and then you wake up in the morning and you're self-berating yourself even, and you're going, oh, fudge, you know what I really want to say? I want to say the F word. I've done it again. I'm such a bad person. I'm always a failure. So this negative self-talk can also be part of an addiction cycle, just so that you're aware. So you need to be willing to be able to kind of step back and go, oh, I used to sabotage. So you've got to change that dialogue from a start. And the way that you do that is to really bring yourself into self-love, to start speaking to yourself with much more gentleness, with much more kindness, right? So if you do stuff up, immediately you say to yourself, I'm good, I'm still worthy, I love and forgive myself. I did this, I love and forgive myself. I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress, right? Because what we want to do is what often happens is people will fall off the wagon and then they go, oh, this just never worked for me. this is unavailable to me and I'm bad and blah, 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 I may as well give up, I may as well go. I don't want to hear any quitters out there. I don't care whether you haven't even started the program. If you're listening to this, I don't care if you haven't started the program. I'm speaking to you just as much, okay? Because I know that there's different types of sabotage. And one of the types of sabotages out there is really, to failure to start.